Today, we have 5 brand new cards to break down with our SWOT analysis. We're going to get right into it today, so let's just get it going. Donald Duck strutting his stuff. Love the name, love the art. Both really, really great things to have. Donald Duck strutting his stuff is a 5-cost inkable character with 4 strength and 3 willpower, with 2 lore, and the ability of Ward. He's also a Dreamborn hero inventor. So let's talk about his SWOT. Strength. 5-cost Ward, 2 lore makes him a good target to sing Let It Go. It's a great card to be able to play on turn 4, and then on turn 5, tap him to let it go something, and then excel your board even further, utilizing another 5-cost character in that turn, provided for ramp decks. The weakness is 3 willpower means 3 drops will take him out. I mean, this card has definite threats for a lot of cards that cost lesser ink than it does. Opportunity. In heavy removal decks, having finishers with 2 lore and Ward means in late game top decking, he may be harder to deal with. Also, another inventor. We've been seeing a lot of inventors recently. So there very well might be an item that is synergy for inventors. The threats are Rafiki, Peter Pan, Hercules, any 3-power drop, or 3-power lower drop that interacts with the board favorably. They're all not so great for this guy. So I like Donald a lot. You know, he has a lot to offer. Hopefully even more to offer as we get, anything that has to do with Inventor, I think will go a long way. But even as just a card that you probably play on 4, fairly often in most of the Sapphire ramp decks, it's not a bad card to play on 4. Having Ward, does mean that you're almost always going to get at least 2 lore out of this character. If you also are able to play Let It Go to set them back a turn, and you're really only worried about rush cards like Rafiki, and even Zeus is a 1-for-1 trade for it, but at least it's a 1-for-1 trade. At least Rafiki's a 1-for-1 trade, so you're still getting something out of it as long as you're able to get your 2 lore or tap this to sing a song. I think it's going to be worth the cost of 5 for Sapphire decks, specifically if they're able to play this on 4 because they played a 1-jump ahead or a Detective Mickey Mouse. Let's get in the card slide 2. So now we have this wonderful wizard, Merlin, who is a 4-cost inkable character. He is Merlin, the self-appointed mentor. He has 3 strength, 4 willpower, and he has 1 lore, but he has the ability of support. Now, support is a phenomenal ability, right? I mean, the concept of being able to quest with this character and then utilizing its strength on another character. We've only really seen it on Hey so far, and that's already really one of the better 1-drops in the game, even just adding 1 power to something to help it trade up. So the concept of had 3 strength to any character is pretty crazy, specifically with cards like Rafiki, with cards like Zeus, with cards like Beast. There's just a lot of really, really great things going on. So let's continue this breakdown. So the strength, of course, is support 3. It's a massive amount of support, as I just stated. Allows smaller characters to trade up well above their ink, and while still gaining lower fair stats for a 4-drop. And of course, it is inkable, which is a nice little addition. The weakness is it needs an additional dry characters to make full use of the ability, or characters with rush. The opportunity, again, is paired with rush characters, as I said, Beast, Rafiki, Zeus, for giant attacks out of nowhere after turn 4. Pairs with smaller characters to trade way up, small evasive into larger, for example. Just making your Peter Pan 6 strength is pretty awesome. The threats are rush characters, specifically Zeus, can be ignored until answered with only 1 lore. So it's not the end of the world. If this guy sits on the table, if he's not threatening to your board state because the trades are all favorable anyway, then it's like kind of whatever. But you're definitely not going to want them to sit around so they can just easily take out, your big Stitch or any Stitch. Realistically, you want to just be able to make sure he's gone from the table and not threatening the characters that you want to end the game with. So let's get into our next card. So Befuddle, another Merlin art, which is really sweet. 1-cost inkable action. Return a character or item with cost 2 or less to their player's hand. So there's some interesting ways to look at this card. And first and foremost, right now, Amethyst doesn't have action removal, but they have basically all their characters as really good removal-esque characters. Rafiki, Zeus, Jafar, all these cards are like really stellar in challenging combat, and then not too bad to be left around and honestly make a lot of favorable trades more times than not. So Befuddle, while it's interesting and it's nice to have, I guess, it'll be hard to examine if like we really, really want this card or not. But nonetheless, let's break it down. Befuddle strength is counteracts rush strategies, perfect complement to mid-range rush characters, and giving you more time to draw them and inkable. It's like this is a good early removal to bounce to make your cards like Zeus better, or to make your cards like Rafiki better, give you more time to draw them because their characters are still dry, so they're not tapped yet, which means they haven't gotten any lore yet. The weakness is it worth the card slot for an additional way to deal with small characters? Amethyst already has Rafiki and Zeus. I'm not certain that this is going to be worth it, other than the fact that it is like an inkable 1-cost card. So like on certain curves, this might be a way to fill out your own curve. The opportunity is combined with emeralds. Similar cards to keep threats off the board continuously helps Ing. So yeah, having Cruellas and having Genies and things like that, if there is more to come, is a nice little just continuously bounce things off the board and make things more interesting. I will say after the threats here, which is characters with ward come into play, abilities, larger characters. The other threat that I think I would add here is a lot of the times players are looking for, cards to ink later in the game. So the later this card gets, the worse it probably also gets, because if you bounce a card back, unless you're, specifically targeting like a Stitch, like a 1-cost Stitch they're hiding, so you're bouncing that back so they can't shift on 4. Those are the only one. But like, any of the other lower cost cards other than like Maleficent Biding Her Time that can't be inked, when you bounce it back to their hand, there's a good chance that rather than replaying the character, they're just going to use it as ink at that point because it's already past curve, and they might just be looking for cards to ink anyway. And rather than paying the cost of the card again, they're just going to utilize it to throw it in their resource row and then pay for the next big threat that Befuddle couldn't answer. So that is just like another little threat that I would be slightly worried about in general. Let's move on to the next card. Simba, the Protective Cub, is a 2-cost inkable amber character with 2 strength and 3 willpower. Storyborn hero prince with the ability of Bodyguard and 1 lore. So Simba strengths it's solid stats realistically, a 2-3-1. If we're just comparing it to its own color, it's a strict upgrade from Minnie Mouse unless you're playing a princess deck. So it's just a straight up better card in almost every sense of the word, but it protects your higher value targets like Rockstar Stitch and beyond. And it's a great sacrificial kitty. The Sack Cub is what we can start calling this for all of my old MTG fans. But yeah, the weaknesses here are it's easily handled by rush characters. Rafiki and Zeus eat this up for lunch, but above the curve at its cost, which is great because, they are utilizing their 3 costs or their 4 costs to remove this. Later in the game, it has, great synergies, as we're going to talk about here with the opportunity here, is once again, hopefully there is some type of Prince payoff. We'll find out in good time. But it's great protection for out-of-color important characters, even protects evasive characters, arguably the current best 2-cost character in the game. It has potential. A 2-cost Bodyguard is really, really powerful. Threats, Rafiki, Smash, Zeus, Big Tink, Aladdin, decks that do not challenge often. So yeah, I mean, this is really great at protecting, your characters that need protecting. This gives you the ability to like on your turn 3 still maybe like attack with your Stitch, your low cost Stitch, and then play a Simba, or now you have Simba, or you have Hercules, or you have Goofy, like you have like all these other ways now to protect your Stitch, which is more likely one of the more powerful characters. Also potential for protecting other characters, but the point is that protecting characters that are important, and on top of that, that have double down synergy, where later on, if you get your Rockstar Stitch in play and then you just play Simba to draw your card, you now have a protection for your Rockstar Stitch, so you can swing in with Stitch, gain 3 lore, and they still have to go through another character before they can even get to Stitch. And the earlier that you get Stitch out, they just don't have enough most of the time to like do all of these things. So you're getting the most out of your Stitch. If you're able to get 6 lore out of your Stitch, draw cards with Stitch, and Stitch is still in play and still a threat, you're going to be way ahead in the game. So Simba's doing a lot of really great things for Stitch decks, without a doubt, and probably more than likely even more than that. So now let's get into the absolute powerhouse of the entirety of all of this. This card is bonkers, all right? I mean, I can't even express to you how ridiculous this card is, but you can see, just like as we grow the screen here, you can see how much this card has in strength and opportunity, and how little it has in weakness and in threats. I mean, this card is bonkerous. Let's break her down. Man. Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. And yes, she is the puny pirate ship. The art, I can't even get enough across. This card is so great in every single way, including its art. I would absolutely put this on a playmat, and I would buy the hell out of it. So we have a 6-cost inkable steel character with 4 strength, 5 willpower, and 2 lore. On top of all these things, she has the ability of Shift 4. She also has another ability called Rock the Boat, which is when you play this character, deal 1 damage to each opposing character. And she has another ability, which is Puny Pirate. During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may deal 2 damage to a chosen opposing character. Just all of that. I mean, all of these things on a single card is unbelievable. It's, in my honest, humble opinion, in the entire opinion of the Forbidden Mountain team, this is 100% the most powerful card they have released so far, which is scary to think, because we've seen, about half the set now, that there might be some really powerful cards that we haven't been spoiled yet. Because right now, to date, this card is unbelievable. We're going to break it down. But, man, this card is just insane, guys. Absolutely insane. Tinkerbell is everything that people are saying she is. So, what are our strengths? There's a lot of them. Strength. Where do I start? I mean, seriously, where I can't even begin. It's inkable. It has good stats for a 6-drop. It can shift. It has shift. It makes another card even good on top of that. It also means every Tinkerbell made for the rest of eternity that costs less than 4, or honestly just less than 6, just an instantly playable card. Ability to clean up the board from damaged characters that were already damaged. Only damages opposing characters, which means this card doesn't even damage your own characters. There's not even a downside to this. The ability to spread 2 damage after already banishing, likely completely dominating board presence if played on turn 4. If you're able to play this card on turn 4, it also effectively has Rush, which is ridiculous when you really consider it. It's amazing in multiples. Probably makes small characters unplayable, especially 1 willpower. Cards like Pascal should be amazing source of card advantage. I mean, again, I can't really express more than this, but just in the example of if you can play this card on 4. So if you play this card on 4, it comes in, deals 1 damage to everything. Whatever you don't KO at this point, or don't banish at this point, you now get to use this Tinkerbell with Rush to attack into a character, right? So now we're attacking into a character, we're KOing that character, and then we're doing 2 damage to another character that we already did 1 damage to, which now all of a sudden you're doing 3 damage to another character outside of challenging and outside of having to play even another card. This one single card does all those things. And then on top of that, if they even have cards left in play, on turn 4, having a 4/5, there isn't another. There's not a card in the game that comes in with Rush aside from Zeus that can remove this card from the game, like that can banish this card. So like you have to have Zeus, or of course whatever Tinkerbell might attack. Like let's say she did attack something with 2 strength, fine. Rafiki would also do it, but without those 2 cards, whatever you're playing next doesn't even banish Tinkerbell. It's ridiculous. Let's get into the puny weakness of the card. The weakness is it costs 6? Question mark, I guess. It can be 2 for 1 if you shift, I guess. Anything? I mean, honestly, is there really truly any actual weakness to this card? It's very, very hard to see right now. The opportunity is it gives play to the 3-cost Tinkerbell. Again, it gives cost to any Tinkerbell that's created from this point forward. It fits with any other ink as a finisher and board wipe. It's great with extra pinpoint removal. So complementary removal from Ruby, from Sapphire, from Emerald Bounce, or from Amethyst Rush. This card is perfect addition to all of those strategies. The threats are 5-cost removal will only, I mean, literally, like, guys, it will only make this a 1-for-1 trade, maybe if all you did was do 1 damage to the entire side of the board. I mean, this guy, seriously, I mean, I can't even go even more in depth. This card is bonkers. It's absolutely meta defining. It's absolutely, to this current point in the game changing. This changes so much about how people are going to end up creating and crafting decks. And this character alone has the ability to just dominate the game from turn 4 on because of shift 4. It really, really is just mind blowing to me. Like I can't even express it more than I have without sounding too over repetitive. But the cards today were all really good cards. I think most of them will definitely see play. I do question the likelihood of a card, you know, like Donald Duck and like Befuddle. They're probably 2 of the weaker versions, but they have a spot, they have a moment. So definitely can see that. If you're looking for more card breakdown videos, here's a whole playlist right here. If you're interested and this was helpful to you and you're enjoying these SWOT analysis breakdowns, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the comment. Let me know which of these cards you're most excited for. And if it's not Tinkerbell Giant Fairy, I want to know specifically why, because this card's unbelievable. If you're not yet, please hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys in the next video.